Well, it's official, folks. President Joe Biden and Donald Trump will be debating ahead of November's election. It all came together rather quickly this morning after Biden posted this video challenging Trump to debate anywhere, anytime, anyplace.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Wow. Well, it didn't take long for Trump, who has the day off from his criminal trial, to accept that challenge. It'll be his first debate since the 2020 election, given that he didn't show up to a single Republican primary debate over the last year. However, this time around, it's going to be a lot different than what we've seen in the past. The Presidential Debate Commission won't be organizing this, and there will be no audience present. And it'll be much earlier than what we're used to. The first debate is scheduled for just over a month from now, like June 27th, and the second on September 10th. Joining me now to discuss this is Cornell Belcher, pollster and MSNBC political analyst, one of my favorite people to talk to. Cornell, thank you, because you and I can talk facts, not just strategy. Why now? Why is Joe Biden getting up there and saying, anytime, any place, bring it, I got hands? Why is Joe Biden calling for a debate in June, usually one of the dead fundraising months during a presidential election year?
Yeah, well, let's get in sort of campaign strategy weeds with the smart folks who watch Joanna Reid's show. Look, typically for a challenger, you want to debate the incumbent because there's not often where you have a clear shot of hitting the incumbent, and if you're a challenger, you have to take out the incumbent. Like, number one job for challenger is to get the people, and in this case, the majority of Americans who gave Joe Biden the job. You have to give them a rationale for firing him. And there's very little, and you can try to do it in television ads, but there's no clear-cut sort of one-on-one way better than in a debate. So as a challenger, you want to debate. I will also note here, and as you pointed out earlier, that Trump kind of wants this debate, right? And if Trump was as confident about his position, and the Trump campaign was as confident about his position, he would not actually be taking this debate, just like he did not take the debates in the primary because he was confident in his position. The question is, from the Biden campaign, sort of why take this debate on now? Why push for this debate if you're a challenger? Look at the dynamics that's been unfolding in this campaign, and I think I understand why they're saying this, because it's all been about personality. Is he old enough? Is he too old? Is Trump is corrupt and on this and that. But the truth of the matter is, the Biden campaign wants to start talking about the issues and the policy contrast between these two people. This is not going to be a personal sort of conversation about who you personally like, but lay out to the American people the policies and the impact differences between these candidates. And I think you want a longer run-up of the policy differences in a conversation. My God, can we finally start talking about policy differences between the two candidates and not their personalities? And I think the campaign wants that and needs that. So that's why I think they're calling for these debates, and they want a longer ramp, Jason, for this conversation about policy differences and issue differences.
So, Cornell, part of my theory, frankly, for this election has been, as much as we have conversations about enthusiasm and people disappointing, there are people who are disappointed in Joe Biden. They wanted more passion, they want this, that, the other. But there's a difference between being disappointed in Joe Biden and disliking Donald Trump, right? That's,
yes.
That is something that seems to be at play here, and demonstrating those personality differences matters. Here's another thought that I've had, and I'm curious if the numbers are backing this up. I also think it is a way to make sure that RFK Jr. is basically frozen out of the conversation, because even though he's tweeted that he thinks he'll be able to qualify by June 27th, more likely than not, he will not be able to. And this will allow Joe Biden to turn this into a binary race in June and basically freeze out RFK until he either decides he's going to drop out and endorse Trump or just drop out in general. Well, does that make sense with the numbers?
No, I think that's spot on. And again, if you are the Biden campaign from a strategic standpoint, you want this to be a two-person race, right? We saw what happened in Wisconsin and in Michigan and Pennsylvania in 2016 with third-party voting, which again, Donald Trump is a 46-47% proposition. That's not from polling. That's from what actually happens on election day. So he wins by subtraction, not by addition. So the third party helps him. But making this a binary choice, and again, lining up, this is a choice between Biden on policies versus Trump on policies, and I think that's a debate that I think the Biden camp thinks they'll win on policies.
Very quickly before we go to break, Cornell, there's a lot of polls out now. I am known for saying these polls ain't loyal. We are way too early to trust most of them. And I think a lot of them fail tremendously to properly sample African-American voters and Latino voters. For those who saw recent polls from New York Times and everything else like that, that worry about it, what's your response to that? Because you've been highly critical a lot of the very sort of publicized polls we've seen over the last couple of weeks.
Well, too often the sample size from minorities in these polls are inadequate for you to drive several news stories across several weeks. I think in large sample size polls of African American and Hispanic voters, what you see is not that African American and Hispanic voters are breaking so heavily towards Trump in a historical way. I mean, the idea that African Americans would be breaking towards Trump in a way above and beyond they've done in every Republican is kind of ridiculous.
It's absolutely unlikely.